Let's be real. Facing a criminal case is one of the most stressful things anyone can possibly go through. It can feel like your entire world has just been turned upside down. But, being caught off guard doesn't mean you have to be unprepared. Think of this explainer as your first step, a way to understand the system, know your rights, and start taking back a little bit of control. And just like that, it happens. That one moment is a total shock to the system. You've got confusion, fear, anxiety. It all just hits you at once. Your mind is probably racing with a million questions, and the path forward looks completely dark. That's a totally normal reaction, but it's also the exact moment where your next steps matter the most. Okay, so let's just focus on that one core message. Panicking, that leads to bad decisions. But preparation is power. By understanding the process, you can shift from just being a passive participant in all of this to being an active defender of your own rights. So where do we even begin? Let's start right at the very beginning. The first thing you absolutely need to do when you find yourself in this situation is to just understand the landscape. What kind of system are you even entering? I want you to think of it like a journey with a map. I know it seems incredibly complex and intimidating from the outside, but it actually follows a logical sequence of stages, from that initial police report all the way to a final court decision. And understanding this flow, well, that's your compass. Now, this next part is maybe the most critical distinction to get your head around right away. See, not all criminal cases are treated the same, and the type of offense you might be facing fundamentally changes the entire legal path forward. So in Thailand, criminal cases basically fall into two big buckets, and knowing which one you're in is absolutely vital for your strategy. First, you've got private offenses. Think things like defamation or maybe some types of fraud. In these cases, it's really between individuals. This means the victim can actually choose to settle or withdraw the case. But, and this is a big but, they only have a super strict 3-month window to file a complaint. Then, on the other side, you have public offenses. We're talking about things like theft or assault. Here, the state sees these as crimes against society itself, and that's a total game changer, because it means the case cannot be settled privately. The government is going to prosecute it no matter what the individual victim wants. So you can see how your whole approach really depends on this one distinction. And please, listen to this. This is so important. If you're the victim in one of those private offenses, withdrawing your complaint is irreversible. Once it's withdrawn, that is it. You cannot change your mind later, even if the other person doesn't hold up their end of a deal. Think of it like a one-way door. You need to be absolutely certain before you decide to walk through it. All right, so once a complaint is filed, the journey officially begins with the police. This investigation stage is really the foundation for the entire case. It's where all the facts are gathered and the initial story really starts to take shape. So the investigation, it unfolds in a pretty clear sequence. It all kicks off with filing that official complaint. From there, the police get to work gathering evidence, witness statements, forensic data, anything and everything they can find. Then comes the formal questioning of suspects and witnesses. And finally, once the police feel they've built their case, they package up the complete file and send it over to the public prosecutor, who then has to make a decision. So now the case leaves the hands of the police and enters this new, really critical phase. The public prosecutor basically acts as a gatekeeper, and it's their job to decide if the evidence is strong enough to formally go to trial. This is a massive checkpoint in the process. The prosecutor is going to go through that entire investigation file with a fine-tooth comb, and they have options. They can decide to file charges and take the whole thing to court, or they could send it back to the police for more investigation. Or, if the evidence just isn't there, they can decide not to prosecute at all, and the case could end right there. Now, at any point in this process, you have a fundamental right that you need to know about, the right to request bail. It doesn't matter if you're at the police station or in court, you can apply for temporary release. This usually means you have to provide some kind of security, like cash or a property title, as a guarantee that you'll show up for all the future court dates. So let's say the prosecutor decides to move forward. The case gets filed with the court. From there, you might have something called a preliminary hearing, which is just to see if the case has enough merit to continue. The next really key step is the arraignment. This is where you formally enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And if you plead not guilty, well, that's when the trial process begins, and both sides will start presenting their evidence. Okay, so we've walked through the map of the system, we've seen the roads and the checkpoints. Now, let's assemble your personal toolkit.
These are the essential actions and mindsets you really need to carry with you at every single stage of this journey.
All right, this is your checklist for empowerment. Number 1, know your fundamental rights. You have to understand them. 2, meticulously gather every single fact and piece of evidence that supports your side of the story. Third, and this is completely non-negotiable, get professional legal advice. Seriously, trying to navigate this alone is incredibly risky. Fourth, you have to be vigilant. Scammers love to prey on people in crisis, promising they can fix a case for a fee. And finally, maintain your composure. Staying calm and being respectful with officials not only protects you, it helps the whole process run a lot more smoothly.
Look, the road through the criminal justice system is undeniably challenging. There's no sugarcoating that. But knowledge is your light in the darkness. By understanding the map, the rules, and the tools you have, you start to replace that fear with strategy. The journey is still yours to walk, but now you don't have to walk it blind.